Hello and welcome. Let's start with our top story. Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is under fire after her government released a Libyan general wanted by the International Criminal Court for alleged war crimes. Najeem Osema Almasri Habish, the head of the Libyan Judicial Police, is wanted by the ICC for war crimes he committed in a prison near Tripoli, where migrants are detained. Habish is the director of the infamous detention center in Mitiga, where he is accused of carrying out systematic abuses of migrants arriving in Libya in the hope of setting foot in Europe. The crimes he is accused of include murder, torture, rape, and sexual violence. On Sunday, he was arrested by an Italian police in Turin, where he had come to watch a football match on the basis of the ICC's arrest warrant. Italy is a founding member of the ICC and is obliged to arrest and surrender wanted individuals. But just 2 days after the arrest, he was released after an Italian court ruled that prosecutors had made a procedural mistake. He was reportedly repatriated to Libya on an Italian government plane. He returned to a heroic welcome in Tripoli. The ICC is now demanding answers from Italy over why it freed the general suspected of such horrific crimes. It has urged Italy to contact its staff. However, there has been no response yet from Italian Prime Minister or her government. Meanwhile, Italy's opposition parties and rights groups are outraged and are calling the release as hypocritical and scandalous.
Now we have the case where the same Prime Minister here after Cutro said that she would have hunted down human traffickers on land and sea. And then we see that yesterday, Minister, that one of these cases landed on your desk. The paradox is that she speaks well, but when a trafficker whom the International Criminal Court tells us is a dangerous criminal lands on your table, it's not like you chase him down. You brought him home to Libya with a plane of the Italian Secret Services.
For many years, we have been in contact with migrants who have been inside that prison and who have suffered unspeakable horrors. We are talking about violence, rape, and many things that people even struggle to tell. And so for some time now, we, together with many courageous journalists, together with the migrants themselves who have been united in this social movement, refugees in Libya, all together for some time, we have been denouncing the work of many Libyan mafia bosses, including precisely Al-Masri, who is one of these bosses.
As the Italian government faces huge backlash, the question is why it made such a move. The answer could lie in one of the biggest challenges that the country is facing: illegal immigration. The Meloni government relies on the cooperation of the Libyan government to block the arrivals of illegal immigrants. As part of the 2017 agreement, Libya is securing its borders, eliminating irregular migration to European nations. It is curbing the migrants crossing across the key central Mediterranean route, from where thousands of migrants enter Italy annually. Migrants typically come from North African countries like Tunisia, Libya, Algeria, and Egypt, crossing the sea toward the Italian coast. It is also among the most dangerous migrant routes in the world, where several hundred have died while trying to reach Europe. However, last year, irregular boat landings were down more than 60% after Meloni struck deals with the North African governments. However, Libya is reported to often imprison migrants in detention camps where they are subject to inhuman treatment and dire conditions. Now, can Italy justify curbing immigration at the cost of such horrific crimes? For more on this, we have with us Mohammed Al-Jar, co-founder of Libya Outlook for Research and Consulting. He is joining us live from Benghazi in Libya. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, what are the implications of Italy's decision to release the Libyan general accused of war crimes, especially in light of the ICC's demand for accountability?
Well, the implication is quite obvious for number one, from an international humanitarian law point of view. It just shows the weakness of the international community in this regard and the inability to deal with one of the biggest humanitarian crises that is facing the world today, which is the illegal migration, especially that is happening from the African continent to Europe. But also it shows that national security interests or national interests take precedence over international law, especially with the right-wing prime ministers such as Meloni. And the other thing is, if the Italian authorities were to keep this general, who is in reality a militiaman, then Italy's interests on the ground will be in jeopardy. Italy has one of its biggest gas terminals in Libya, in Sabrata. That will be a target for these armed groups. Italy might face shutdown of the Green Stream pipeline that connects Libya to Italy, impacting its energy security. Furthermore, it puts in basically jeopardy all of these deals that Meloni has successfully concluded with Libyan authorities. So the matter of the fact is that those deals that Meloni has signed, she actually has signed in a failed state, where these militiamen, militia groups, and so on have such a such an influence, and as such, you have this kind of clash in respecting an international law, the ICC, and then between Italy's interests when it comes to migration and energy.
And Mohammed, how does this development affect Italy's relationship? You've touched on it with Libya, but its broader standing with international community, particularly with regards to upholding, as you mentioned, international law.
I mean, it puts Italy in a very difficult position, but I think the choice for the Italian government is which is easier to deal with in terms of a backlash. Is it the humanitarian groups that are going to attack us and the opposition within will try to use this politically, or will it be a crisis that comes from Libya in the form of thousands of migrants starting to cross again, and then the energy security of Italy? So that is the calculation that exists for the Italian government, and they made the call that no, our interests with these militias and armed groups in Tripoli are much more important and significant for us to maintain, and we will have to deal with the backlash. So that is a conscious decision that Italy has made. Obviously, this, as the former Italian Prime Minister described it, is a scandal for the government. But the question is, how will they maneuver this and how will they deal with it? But I think with Trump arriving in the United States and with the difficulties that the ICC has been facing as far as the war in Gaza and Ukraine is concerned, I think overall, the ICC and the international system is going to continue to face some difficulties and some challenges from nation states as they work to secure their interests, if you like, in that regard.
Right. And what role might the involvement of the Italian secret services in facilitating the general's return play in shaping perceptions of Italy's commitment to international justice and, of course, the ICC's mandate?
I mean, Italy has always, and not just Italy, but many countries that are involved in Libya have securitized their involvement in Libya. And this is why we have seen the involvement of the Secret Service or the intelligence in Italy, because they are the actual guys who are managing this relationship with a failed state, with these armed groups, with these militias, and with their leaders. So their involvement is because they know if they don't act, then whatever operations they have on the ground, whatever plans they have on the ground will be in jeopardy, and as a result, they needed to deal with this. But I think this incident shows the unsustainability of this relationship that the Italian government, the Italian authorities, the Italian intelligence have built with these militiamen and armed groups that continue to this day to commit heinous violations of human rights. They continue to commit crimes against humanity. So this scandal will put a spotlight on this issue, and it will show the limits of the securitization of such a complex issue, such as the issue of migration or dealing with the failed state that Libya is.
Right. Thank you very much for being with us, Mohammed. Thank you for joining us on Firstpost Africa and for your valued insights and analysis.
Thank you very much for having me.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on Firstpost.